A year ago, I shared my testimony in a video at Cobblestone. At the time that I wrote and recorded it, I was feeling none of it. I knew it was true, but couldn't really see it, and was maybe trying to convince myself that all of it actually happened, and that the God who worked it all out was still there and moving in my life. It aired about 6 weeks later, which is actually a year ago this week, and by that time, the words that I'd shared in the video rang truer than I could have ever expected. I was a new person. One of my best friends described it as watching a dead person come back to life, and that felt so real. The rest of last year was the greatest roller coaster adventure ever. High highs, enough valleys, turns that came out of nowhere, and the desire to do it all over again. Explaining more than that would take weeks, but as I reflect on the last year of my life and the seemingly excessive unknownness of right now, the thing that the Lord keeps showing me is that He's faithful. Even when I don't feel it, even when I'm mad or frustrated at Him, even when it seems like everyone else is getting these amazing moments with the Lord and living the life that I wish I had. He is faithful and always has been on a deeply personal level. About a month ago, back in the pre-quarantine days, I was having a really rough week. I was aware of the attacks of the enemy, but I was losing my energy to fight them off. One afternoon, I was supposed to be meeting with a college student that I disciple, and as much as I love her, I had nothing to give that day. I went home from work and tried to think about what we could talk about or how I would be able to love her well when I felt so terrible. When I got to my room, I saw a box of journals that I had kept over the past few years. Admittedly a little skeptical, I decided to read one from that beautiful and weird spring a year ago when the Lord brought me back to life. All I can say is that an hour later, I picked her up from her dorm room and I was so overwhelmed by the goodness and faithfulness of the Lord. It was amazing. I realized that there is an incredible power in remembering the Lord's faithfulness and character. We see its value all over Scripture. First, I think in Exodus 17, when Moses tells the people to write down the story of Israel's surprising victory over the Amalekites. But throughout Scripture, various writers remember the character and faithfulness of God. It's so necessary to know and remember and remind ourselves and each other. Because not every day is great. Sometimes we walk through valleys of the shadow of death, and we need to fix our eyes and our hearts on the Lord, who walks with us in it and brings us out of it. The discovery or rediscovery of this truth led me to start a new project on remembering who He is, what He's done, and who He says I am. Because when I know those things, I can confidently enter in and know that my God is not only for me and with me, but that His holiness, His goodness, and His lordship are and always will be true. So I don't have to fear, I don't have to be anxious, and I don't have to be thrown by feelings even in the midst of chaos and uncertainty. He is good, and His steadfast love endures forever.